My wife cheated, got an STD, and faced consequences that destroyed her life. Imagine this. You're an ordinary guy living a life that feels secure, predictable, even happy. Then one day, it all unravels like a cheap sweater snagged on a rusty nail. That guy was me, David Ainson. My life, my marriage of 23 years, and my image of happily ever after crumbled in ways I never saw coming. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. One late weekday afternoon, I came home early. My wife, Marge, was upstairs on the phone. As I walked closer, I caught snippets of her conversation. Yes, love, today was good. I liked it. The words hit me strangely. Love? Since when did she call work that enjoyable? I stopped at our slightly ajar bedroom door. Peeking inside, I saw Marge, my wife of over 2 decades, standing there, her back to me, taking off a skirt I'd never seen before. Beneath it was black lace lingerie, delicate, expensive, and unfamiliar. She hung up the phone abruptly, saying, "I've got to shower. You might come home soon." My stomach dropped. What I saw next hit me like a freight train. She walked past the mirror, and there it was, plain as day. A love bite on her chest. It wasn't from me. I froze, my emotions twisting between fury and heartbreak. She noticed the mark too, touched it, and muttered, "Ugh, I'll have to hide this." In that moment, my perfect world cracked wide open. Suspicions, secrets, and a plan. I'm a chemical engineer by trade, a problem solver by nature. But this was a puzzle I didn't want to solve. After 23 years of marriage and 2 kids, Julia, 19, and Tom, 18, I thought I knew everything about my wife. I was wrong. Unable to confront her without proof, I turned my pain into a mission. That night, I set up a hidden camera aimed at the bedroom mirror. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed answers. The next morning, I reached out to my longtime friend George. Years ago, George caught his wife cheating, and his advice was simple but blunt. Gather proof first, stay calm, then decide what you want to do. He gave me sound recorders to plant around the house and in her car. The goal wasn't just to find out if she was cheating, but also who she was cheating with. Uncovering the truth by Saturday, the pieces of the puzzle started coming together. I installed a keylogger on her laptop, disguised as a cleanup tool shed happily run at night. It was like opening Pandora's box. Hidden emails revealed messages from someone named Bill Perez. His emails, dating back months, ranged from flirtatious to outright suggestive. One email stood out. The subject line read, "Hey, hot stuff." It was clear this wasn't just about work. The fallout as the evidence piled up, I confronted Marge. She denied everything at first, but the proof was undeniable. She eventually confessed, not just to the affair, but also to contracting an STD. My fury turned to disgust and heartbreak. This wasn't just about betrayal, it was about putting me at risk, our family at risk. The aftermath was messy. Divorce proceedings began, and Marge faced not only the shame of her actions, but also the consequences. She lost the respect of her kids, her standing in the community, and ultimately, the stability we had built together. As for me, it took time to heal, but I found solace in knowing I had the strength to walk away from someone who no longer respected me. As I read the newest email, my world unraveled, starting from the end. She was furious at him for leaving marks on her, complaining about how difficult it was to hide them from me. His reply? A cold, dismissive tough luck. Get over it and forget your husband. Her reply, sent 14 minutes later, was revealing. She wrote, I know you don't love your wife, but I love my husband. I don't want to hurt him or our marriage. It's bad enough that I've been distant from him, but now, with your marks, I can't even let him see me without clothes. I'm not meeting you this Wednesday. I felt a flicker of hope reading her words, but the following emails crushed it. He apologized, promised to be nicer, and proposed a trip somewhere sunny if she could sneak away. He ended his message with, I love you so much. Her reply? Grudging acceptance of his apology and a reiteration that she'd only go on trips with her husband. She said she'd spend the week repairing things at home with me, but the other emails painted a clearer picture. They'd been meeting for 2 months at a local motel, room 187, a space reserved by his company for traveling sales reps. Had even given her detailed instructions on how to find it. Then, a new email came in from him, a response to one she sent late last night. My stomach dropped as I read her words. I need to see you this week. Let's meet Wednesday at 1 p.m. Please, be gentle this time. His reply was full of sweet nothings, promising to make it special. I couldn't ignore it anymore. They both had to face the consequences. The plan, I forwarded the incriminating emails to my friend George and began to plan. Marge came downstairs around 9:30, smiling and thanking me for letting her sleep in. She hugged me and said, Don't work too hard today. I need you tonight. Her words sounded hollow. I brushed her off, pretending to be focused on work. Later, George called. After reading the emails, he was sympathetic but practical. You don't have solid proof yet, he said, but I can help you get it. Let's set up cameras in that motel room. It was an insane idea, but I was desperate. Yes, let's do it, I said firmly. Setting the trap by Monday morning, we had a plan. George spoke to the motel manager, who had no love for Perez. Turns out, the guy had been a nuisance, frequently entertaining multiple women in the same room. The manager gave us access to the room and a nearby utility closet to set up surveillance equipment. As we entered room 187, I froze, imagining my wife and Perez there together. But I pushed the thought aside and got to work. In 2 hours, we had the cameras and motion sensors installed. George even suggested tracking Perez's car to ensure we weren't caught off guard. Before leaving, I noticed a laptop on the desk. If I can access it, I might find more evidence, I said. Patience, George cautioned. Let's stick to the plan. An unexpected encounter, we headed to a nearby bar for lunch, where the bartender, Mary, greeted George warmly. Their interaction revealed a shared history. Mary opened up, recounting how George had once helped her escape a destructive lifestyle and get into rehab. She was still struggling, but determined to build a better future. Her story reminded me that people could change, even in the darkest circumstances. But would Marge? Confrontation on the horizon that evening, Marge brought home takeout and tried to act normal. I played along, masking my anger to avoid suspicion. The tension was palpable, but I knew I had to stay calm until I had concrete evidence. As she went to bed, I stayed up, reviewing the surveillance feed. Nothing yet. But I knew it was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. I got ready for bed and lay down, facing away from Marge. She whispered softly, "Good night, honey." Without turning, I asked, "Why are you wearing such a thick top?" "It's hot in here." She paused before answering. "I'm just cold, that's all." Suspicious, I turned to hug her. She hugged me back, but her skin was clammy with sweat. "Are you sick?" I asked, concerned. "I don't think so. I've just been cold at night," she replied nervously. Pulling her close, I teased, "I know ways to warm you up." She tensed. "David, I'm sorry. I'm just too tired." I let go and turned away, muttering, "It's okay, Marge." She moved closer, adding, "How about Wednesday? It'll be a light day for me. I'll make it up to you." I just murmured, "It's fine." The atmosphere was tense, and we lay apart, the awkwardness thick in the air. It was Tuesday morning when George hit me with the news. The GPS tracker had slipped on her car was finally active. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong as I watched Perez every move. I needed more proof. There was only one place left to check: the voice recorder I'd hidden in our bedroom. Returning home under the pretense of work, I slipped into our room and listened. Marge's conversation with her best friend Ashley sent a chill down my spine. "Marge, this weekend was amazing." Ashley, "Did you hook up with Will?" Marge, "Yeah, but I was supposed to be with David Sunday night. He was too tired after working all day." Ashley, "So, David or Will? Who's better?" Marge, "David, of course. He loves me. But Will, it's raw. It's intense. I don't want David to be like that, but it's exciting." Ashley, "I get it. It's the thrill. That's why I started seeing Brian last year." The words were like daggers. Each sentence twisted deeper, shredding the trust I had in her. The plot thickens by Wednesday. Marge was practically bouncing off the walls. She was all smiles, cooking breakfast, dressing like she had nothing to hide. Her act was so forced, I almost wanted to laugh. She blocked my way as I tried to leave, her voice softer than usual. "Marge, David, is something wrong?" Me, "Not that I can tell." I held her tighter than usual, pressing my face against hers. Me, "I love you. There's no one else I want to be with. I hope you feel the same." She stiffened in my arms, murmuring, "Of course I do. I'm planning to make you really happy tonight." I pulled back, the cold distance between us growing. "See you later," I muttered, leaving her behind without a second glance. The evidence mounts the motel where Perez's car was parked was my next stop. My heart was in my throat as I slipped into his room, setting up a keylogger on his laptop. I had to know how deep Marge was involved and what other skeletons he was hiding. The truth hit me like a freight train. I uncovered their affair, Perez's shady dealings, and worse, his ties to other women. The fallout by the time I called George that night, I couldn't keep the rage in check. Me, it's time. We need to act now. George, I'm on it. Let's meet at your place. The weight of it all was too much to carry alone. I drowned myself in whiskey, talking it all out with George until I couldn't remember much of anything. When I finally got home, Marge was either asleep or pretending. Either way, it didn't matter. Closing scene that night, as I lay in bed, the suffocating weight of her betrayal threatened to crush me. Tomorrow was the day. Tomorrow, I'd confront her. But tonight, I needed the strength to breathe. I burned the midnight oil, making extra copies of the videos. George needed to see them too. We spent hours poring over the footage, then hit the bar. By the time we left, I couldn't remember how much I'd had to drink. Thursday morning, I woke up to an empty house. No Marge. No kids. Just a note on the table. "I won't wake you. Too much to drink. Forgot your alarm." It was clear she was pissed off. Good. I could keep my distance. I called in sick and headed to the motel to grab a new video. But as I reviewed the footage, something gnawed at me. George called. Marge is involved. She's a suspect. The bombshell dropped. I didn't want to believe it, but everything was adding up. The truth comes crashing down back home. I sifted through more footage, my hands shaking with every new piece of evidence. Perez's emails were damning. He wasn't just involved with Marge. He had other women too. As I fast-forwarded through the video, a knot formed in my stomach. There they were, Perez and Marge, locking lips in a seedy motel room. Watching them made my blood boil. She was smiling, enjoying herself as if she had every right to betray me. The last piece of the puzzle hit me like a ton of bricks. I had to watch one more call. Marge talking to Ashley. Ashley, how did it go? Marge, okay. Maid will gentler so I'm not sore today, but he's still rough. He's too much sometimes. Ashley, what about David? Marge, he came home drunk and ignored me. Now he's giving me the silent treatment. I could barely breathe as her voice carried over the phone. She wasn't just cheating. She was blaming me for her actions. The showdown Friday came, and I had the final video, Perez with a young woman in a military uniform. She resisted him, but he overpowered her. Watching him escalate into violence made my stomach churn. Later, I met with George. He promised to find the woman and bring Perez down. I handed him everything, the worst of it, the undeniable proof of Marge's betrayal. Saturday and Sunday. The silence before the storm. The silence between Marge and me was suffocating. On Sunday, she received an email from Perez that cut me to the core. Thanks for Friday. Can't wait for next Wednesday. I stared at the screen, my fists clenched, but no words came. I went to bed early, leaving her to her usual routine. When she slipped into bed, she moved just enough to make sure I felt her coldness. It was fine. I didn't want to face her either. The final decision by Wednesday, I had everything I needed. I checked into a motel, set up cameras, and watched the train wreck unfold. Marge walked in, kissed Perez, and went straight to her email. They worked side by side, their casual movements making me sick. Then, the intimacy started, and I couldn't watch anymore. I gathered every shred of evidence, knowing I was about to burn everything to the ground. By Sunday, I was ready. The raid was underway. Perez was caught, and the entire operation collapsed. But as I watched the news, I knew that my own battle was just beginning. The confrontation Monday came, and George's call confirmed it. Perez is done. He's going down. That night, I confronted Marge. Her face paled when she saw me standing in the living room waiting. We need to talk. I didn't wait for her to speak. I know everything, Perez, the lies, the cheating. I've seen it all. Tears welled up in her eyes. David, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you, but it was too late. It hurted all before. I want a divorce. The aftermath the following weeks were a whirlwind of legal battles and emotional turmoil. The DNA tests confirmed Marge's infidelity, and Shed contracted an STD. But I wasn't broken. I focused on what mattered most, my kids. They were my anchor. Marge worked on herself, rebuilding her relationship with Julia and Tom. I started rebuilding my life too. Slowly, piece by piece. The journey ahead was long, but with every step forward, I realized that the end of my marriage wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning.